Now we continue with the UDP operations. We discussed this part yesterday, like encapsulation and decapsulation is the part of layered architecture. So it is always allowed in the UDP also. Now there are different processes at the specific application layer or transport layer. Clear? So the particular transport layer deals with the process to process communication. These stack shows the sender and the receiver's layered architecture. Clear? This is one host and this is another. So that particular process is at one host and it is at another host. Clear? This particular process is the encapsulation of the messages into UDP data as a UDP data and attach the UDP header, which is of fixed 8-byte header. Okay, the content of UDP header, as we discussed in previous class, are source port number, destination port numbers, then total length of the header, and specifically the checksum. Okay, now encapsulation of this whole UDP datagram into the IP packet, attach the IP header, then this particular IP packet is encapsulated into the Ethernet frame format and attach the frame format of, attach the header of the specific Ethernet protocol. Now transmit the particular data in form of frames or bits received by the receiver and decapsulate these particular data layered by layer. Clear? So the UDP, the process of UDP is delivered the data to the actual process or to the destination process. This is the encapsulation and decapsulation process. Clear? Now the second operation is queues in UDP. What is the role of queue in any type of process to process communication? Either it is UDP or TCP. Okay, so if we consider a specific process like daytime client, which is the client process, and the daytime server, which is the server process, so that particular daytime client request for the particular date and time to the daytime server. What is the what type of queues it uses to transmit and receive the data? Okay, remember the socket programming which we have done in the practical. Okay, so in that particular practicals we are creating the sockets at both the ends, okay, attach the port number or configure the port number or open the port number to the specific socket. Clear? Now create the input and output streams to transfer the data. So these particular input and output streams are acting as a queue. Clear? Outgoing queue and incoming queue. See, if that particular daytime client sends the request, it uses its outgoing queue to transmit the request. Clear? And if it receives any responses from different server services, it uses its incoming queue. Okay, these two types of queue are acting on a single port, which is the dynamic port. Okay, so the daytime client or any type of client process is performed on a ephemeral port number or dynamic port number. Clear? So it uses the 52,000 dynamic category port number. That particular outgoing and incoming queue is created or are created on a specific port number. Clear?
जी sir.
So what is the use of this outgoing queue? The outgoing queue is used to write the request for a specific response. Okay. and this incoming queue is used to receive the response or to read the responses from a server process. Clear? Now, what is the role of that daytime server? It also has two types of queues, that is outgoing and incoming queue. It is very much clear that any type of process requires basically two types of queue, that is incoming and outgoing. If we understand it in the form of read and write output streams or input streams, okay, input streams for reading and output stream for writing, it is similar to like this outgoing and incoming queue. Clear? So the if any type of server process receive the request from the particular client process, it uses its incoming queue. Okay, it may be possible there are multiple type of multiple daytime client processes. Here it shows only one client, but it may be possible there are multiple processes. Okay, for this multiple processes, daytime client multiple processes, it uses a single incoming queue. Clear? So it uses the single incoming queue to receive the request from multiple client processes, and one by one it process these type of requests and send the responses using the outgoing queue. Okay, it is not possible that for each and every client processes the daytime server or any type of server uses multiple type of outgoing queues. It uses a single outgoing queue and a single incoming queue. Okay, here the port number which uses by the that particular daytime server is port 13. What does it means? That when it creates the socket, the server or the daytime server uses the port number 13, which is the category of well-known port number. Clear? So these type of queuing system is used by different processes. It is one of the example. This particular daytime client or any type of client processes is like, it may be FTP client or FTP server, it may be HTTP client or HTTP server. Any one type of process to process communication is done with the help of queuing system. Clear? Okay. Now we come to the another operation, which is well known operation like multiplexing and demultiplexing. You heard that term in layered architecture. Basically, that is multiplexing and demultiplexing. See the slides here. There are different processes which uses UDP protocol at the transport layer. These processes can be identified with the help of port number. Here at one end these processes are client processes, and at another end these processes are server processes. Clear? So it is possible that we are using different applications at using different client processes. This particular client processes uses the UDP operations or UDP protocol at the transport layer. So imagine these are the different processes which uses the UDP protocol. Clear? So these multiple processes or client processes, here these are the different client processes identified with the help of port numbers, different dynamic category port numbers. These are multiplex or use UDP protocol as a connectionless services. Okay, so this process is known as multiplexing. Multiplexing of different process IDs into a single UDP protocol. Clear? And these different processes, UDP protocol is encapsulated into the IP and transmit with the help of physical medium. Okay, at another end, sorry, at another end, now the question is how the particular server process or any type of destination process can identify that this particular process deals with the this particular process, which is known as process to process communication. Okay, for this First of all, the IP header. Okay, it uses the IP header or IP headers protocol field, which shows that that particular protocol field is defined the UDP protocol. So it first delivered to the UDP protocol. Okay, not TCP. It delivered to the UDP protocol because the IP protocol's protocol field contains the value related to UDP. Clear? See, and this particular UDP protocol or UDP header format contains destination port number. Clear? So in corresponding to a specific sender process, it uses the destination process port number to deliver the data. So different UDP process identified with the help of different port numbers. In this way, it demultiplex the data to different processes. Demultiplex the data to the different processes. Sorry. Clear? That is the all about UDP operations. Clear? Now we end with this particular topic, which is the UDP protocol. Clear? In this particular lecture, in previous lecture, we will study about introduction to UDP, then header format of UDP, and different operations of the UDP protocol. Okay. Now we will move to the another protocol of the transport layer, which is the transmission control protocol, which is the TCP protocol, transmission control protocol, which is the connection oriented protocol. It provides the connection oriented services to its upper layer protocols. Like if we use the FTP services, so at lower layer it uses the TCP protocol to encapsulate the data from FTP client process to TCP process. Okay. So the content of these particular TCP protocol is like same as UDP, like process to process communication. There are different TCP services and the numbering system which we use in the TCP applications, and flow control, congestion control, and error controls. Okay, so these are the topics which we cover in this particular TCP protocol. So this is the protocol stack. It shows the position of the TCP protocol at the transport layer. Okay, this is the TCP protocol. Clear? Now, it is similar to the UDP protocol, like process to process communication. Both the TCP and UDP used for the process to process communication. Like when we compare TCP versus IP, the domain of TCP protocol is application programs running on each and every computer. Okay, and the domain of IP protocol is the identification of host machine. Okay, which is the IP address. Clear? Now, this is one example, which is the connection oriented service. Provide the connection oriented service. Like it uses the telnet client process and telnet server process. Okay, basically this example shows how the different UDP or different TCP services or processes communicate with each other. Okay, remember that each and every type of process, like whether it is UDP process or TCP process, that particular UDP process is only communicate with the UDP process at another system. Okay, if you think that one UDP process is communicate with the another TCP process, it is not possible, because the first rule of layered architecture is follow the protocol. Okay, set of rules followed by peer layers. So in this particular example, the peer layer is the transport layer, and the peer layer protocol is UDP or TCP. Okay, in this particular case, the peer layer protocol is TCP. That's why at both the end, at both the transport layers, either it is source or destination, it uses the TCP protocol. Clear? So it is known as set of rules followed by the peer entities or peer layers. Clear? If you have any doubt, please raise the hand. Okay. Now, this is the example in which the telnet client uses the ephemeral port number like 64,000 something. Okay. Or and telnet server uses 23 port number. So it is the category of well-known port number, under the category of well-known port numbers. Okay. Now, there are different TCP services, like the TCP provides the stream delivery service. Okay, stream of bytes up to the specific Ethernet layer, which uses the bit by bit transmissions, or we have bitmap protocols and specifically point to point protocols and SDLC protocols, which are bit oriented protocols. At the transport layer, this particular TCP and UDP are basically the byte oriented protocol. Okay. So uh, that particular TCP processes which want to communicate have a specific buffer at each and every end. Okay. So at one host, sending process transmit the uh, bytes to the TCP process. Okay, TCP protocol. That particular TCP protocol creates the segments, which is known as variable size segments. Clear? So remember that the protocol data unit of TCP is segment. Clear? And the protocol data unit of specifically network layer is the packet. So at transport layer, the PDU is the segment. So in that particular case, we are dealing with the segment in case of TCP. In case of UDP, it is known as datagram. Clear? So this particular sending process transmit the data in terms of bytes, which is known as stream of bytes, continuous stream of bytes. Clear? So uh, before transmitting the data, because it is a TCP or a connection oriented protocol, it first established the connection to the specific destination process, and then transmit the data using that connection, and then release the connection. So it uses the three phases of connection oriented services. First, it establishes the connection, then use the connection by transmitting the stream of bytes, and then release the connection. Okay, this is the stream delivery services. Clear? Okay. Now move to the next slide. Okay. To transmit the multiple bytes or multiple segments, the process is required, or the TCP process is required buffer at their end. Okay. Remember the data link layer, where we use the sliding window protocol concept. Clear? Sliding window is basically the buffer used by the different data link layer. Okay, so when two data link layers communicate with each other, it uses the basically sliding window concept to implement the buffer. Clear? So in this case, that particular straight sliding window is joined. When we are joining these two ends, it is the circular array. Okay, it is defined as a circular buffer. Okay, see, if we break this circular array from here, it is acting like the sliding window concept. Okay, the concept is similar here as we studied in data link layer. So remember that concept. This is the circular array. Okay, it is a circular array which is acting as a buffer. Okay, now how this buffer works? There are basically three compartments in this particular circular buffer. Each and every field contains one byte. Okay, so this circular array is partitioned into three specifically compartment. One is the white compartment. Okay, another is the pink compartment, and another is the next is the that gray compartment. What is the purpose of these three compartments? Okay, the first compartment is like the blank compartment, which is white. So any sending process writes the data in that particular free compartment. Okay, write the byte in free compartment. Okay, now it is ready to transmit. So these particular, when it writes the data, that particular white compartment becomes pink, because we are writing the byte in a particular field of the buffer. Okay, now it sends the data. When it starts sending the data, so that particular byte is known as next byte to be sent. Clear? Okay, these are in the queue to send. Okay, so it is the first byte to send. Sorry, it is the first byte to send. Okay, when it sends, sorry, when the sending process send that byte, it becomes, this particular field becomes gray. That means it is waiting for the acknowledgement. So what is the purpose of this buffer? Write the data in free space of the buffer in terms of bytes. Okay, byte by byte writing is done in the TCP processes, and send the data, then waiting for the acknowledgement. Okay, after sending, waiting for the acknowledgement. So this is the role of that particular sending buffer. Okay, it is similar to that particular sliding window. When we are open this particular circular array from here, so it is acting as a straight sliding window. Clear? But here we are using the continuous circular array. Okay, so this process is continue. See, this process is continue. Okay, when any type of byte sent by the sending process, it comes under this particular segment in this particular compartment, which is waiting for the acknowledgement. When it receives the acknowledgement, when it receives the acknowledgement, okay, so this particular gray parts become white. See, okay, so in this way, this process is continuous process until that sending process sends its data into its buffer. Clear? Now come to the receiving process. This is the receiving process, how it receives data with the help of receiving buffer. So this buffer is performing the main role to receive the data and uh, providing to the upper layer protocols. Like this is the receiving process, which is known as TCP receiving process. It equipped with the receiving buffer. It has basically two compartments. One is blank compartment and another is colored compartment. That colored compartment shows that that sending process received the data. Okay, when it process the data, processing means when it process the data, these number of bytes come into a single segment, and that particular segment is delivered to the upper layer process or upper layer application. At that time, this process frees its buffer space. Okay, so that particular ping compartment is now free to receive more bytes from the sending process. So this receiving process equipped with a buffer which has basically two compartments. One is waiting for the data bytes from the sending process, and when it receives the data byte, it is processed by the receiving process, equipped in a single segment and delivered to the upper layer. So the particular buffer space is now free. Clear? So this is the buffering used, or buffer concept used at the sending process and the TCP process. Both sending and receiving processes are here the TCP processes. Clear? Remember, it uses the stream delivery of bytes. So each and every buffer space contains one byte. The buffer space, the size of the buffer is according to the requirement, or according to the application program used, or uh, application programs at the different end. Okay, we have 10 minutes remaining. Now come to the next slide. See, as you know that the protocol unit of transport layer is segment. Clear? What is the meaning of that segment? Okay, basically the segment contains the bytes. Okay, stream delivery of byte service is provided by the TCP. So each and every segment contains the bytes. So if one TCP sending process creates multiple segments, so these multiple segments are of different size. It may be possible they are of different size. So segments are basically of different size, which contains different byte numbers. Clear? So it may be possible the size of the segments are different in case of same sending and receiving process, or between the same sending and receiving processes. See, this particular segment one contains 3 bytes, and this segment contains 5 bytes. Clear? So the segment size is variable in case of TCP transmissions. Clear? So after creating this segment, that particular sending process attach its header, or attach the TCP header in front of the segment. So these are the data bytes. Okay, these are the data bytes, and each and every segment contain the header of the TCP. So it shows the header first, and then after the data part of the TCP process. This is the flow of segment transmission from one sending process to another receiving process, or TCP receiving process. Clear? Starting from segment 1 to segment N. There are number of segments can be transmitted between one sending and TCP, sending and receiving TCP processes. Clear? Please join the class as early as possible. Otherwise, I will not mark the attendance. Okay, and please join with the audio. नहीं अनिल सर वो सचिन सर के इसमें तो हो गया था लेकिन बच्चों के इसमें नहीं दिख रहा तो मैंने बोला कि अभी क्लास तो दोनों से पहले को शाम तक Wait a minute. One minute, I have seen the attendance. Wait a minute, I am taking the attendance.
तो अब उसको तो मैं जूम पे लेने देता हूँ और फिर मेरे और विद्या के इस पे कर देना है ना। मैं करता हूँ मेरे कर रखे हैं बच्चे रजिस्टर कर, मेरे को याद है बच्चे। अच्छा ऐसा है क्या? चलो ठीक है, तो अभी तो सपने का चालू हो जाने दो, मैं बाकी चेक
Okay. Now we continue with the slide. Clear? Segments are of variable size. So the question is how we identify what is the segment number, okay, what is the size of the segment. So for this we have some number systems in TCP. This is the number system we use in TCP process. Okay, there are different numbering system or different types of number mechanism we can use in TCP protocol for defining the segments, for defining the byte number, and for defining the acknowledgement number. Here, so see the slide. The bytes of data being transferred in each connection are numbered by TCP. The numbering system start with a randomly generated number. So whatever type of segments or whatever type of bytes sent by the sending process, that particular sending process numbered each byte in a buffer. Okay, so each and every byte should be numbered before the transmission. It equipped in a one single segment depending upon the type of application, what is the size of the segment, and what are the different sizes segments which we use or which we can transmit between the two processes. Clear? For providing the number system or number to each and every byte and the segment, it uses the randomly generated number method to specify the byte number. Clear? So please mute your mic. Now the question is, imagine a TCP connection is transferring a file of 6000 bytes. The first byte is numbered with 10,010. This is in decimal. Okay. What are the sequence number for each segment? If data is sent in 5 segments, with the first 4 segments carrying 1000 bytes and the last segment carrying 2000 bytes. Okay, understand the question? We are using the TCP connection for transferring the 6000 bytes file size. it starts with the number system with randomly generated number, that is 10,010. It can be anyone. It can be 1, 2, 3, 4, any type of number for random from the randomly generated method, and it uses 5 segments for transferring that particular file. For each and every segment, or each and every segment is of size of 1000 bytes except the last one. That last one is carrying the 2000 bytes. So how we allocate the sequence number to segments and the bytes? Please mute your mic. Now starting with the segment 1, which is starting from that particular sequence number. This sequence number is 10,010. Clear? So the meaning of the sequence number is the first byte number in a segment. Okay. As we know that sequence number is used to identify the different packets or different datagrams or different segments with each other. Okay. So each and every segment is identified with the sequence number. And what is the sequence number of the segment? That is the first byte number in a segment is known as the sequence number of the segment. See, it starts with the particular byte number, that is 10,010 to 11,009. Why it is so? Because the particular segment contains 1000 byte. Clear?